Okay, welcome to our first class. We had technical difficulties because I was hungry. Now, here we have a lot of people in the class. It's going to be pretty noisy, if you can call them people, which you can't. No being people. Okay, this is the under 1400 class, or in this case, way under 1400. All right? Like if you add their ratings up and multiply by 10, then we're getting close to 1400, but not too close. Okay, I mean, you guys are the best. Okay, so as you all know, the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz is ongoing, plus the Sinquefield Cup is next. Those are the strongest tournaments in the United States every year. For example, all the top players in the world are playing. In the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, the only player not playing who's top 10 is Magnus Carlsen, who you've heard of. And after this tournament's over, in 5 days, they're going to do the Sinquefield Cup in the same place, and then Magnus is playing in that. So you have to wait like 5 days to see Magnus. Okay, conversely, the other players are Wesley, Mamedyarov, Nakamura, Grischuk, Anand, Caruana, etc., mainly etc. It's a 10-player tournament. They're playing Rapid and Blitz. They play 25-minute chess. Then when they're done with that, they play 5-minute chess. That's pretty fast, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Then, when this tournament's over, they play slow chess where the games never end. The game might take 5 hours for one game. That's the one Magnus is playing in. Okay, now what I've done, we've had day one. In day one, they played 3 rounds, so there were 15 games. When the games are draws, then you kids fall asleep. So I got rid of the draws. So if you look up there, you'll notice there's no draws. I got rid of those. Right. So 8 of the games, somebody won. And in 7 of the games, it was a draw. I got rid of the draws. These games were all 25-minute games. Each side got 25 minutes. So they play pretty exciting chess. Now, before the class started, I asked these fine gentlemen who the best players in the U.S. were, and they both started crying, and I got their pacifiers and diapers, and their moms hugged them, okay? And the actual answer is Fabiano Caruana, Hikaru Nakamura, and Wesley So. Those are the 3 best players in the U.S. And they're all playing in this tournament. And as you both know, in November, Fabiano Caruana is playing a match with the world champion. Who's the world champion? Magnus. Magnus, and whoever wins will be the world champion. Okay. Now, Fabiano Caruana is winning this tournament thus far with 3 out of 3. Is that a good score? 3 points out of 3 games? Yeah. Okay. And then, unfortunately for me, Wesley So's in last place, and Nakamura's in the middle. Okay. There's 10 players. We're going to look at some positions. I'll call on you guys to answer some questions about chess. The first game is Wesley So Mamedyarov. And this was a very good game for a child because, don't make noises please, because Wesley So did something we tell beginners not to do. But he's not a beginner, so he did it. Okay, he played like you guys, E4, E5. Now he's playing Shakhiyar Mamedyarov, one of your favorite players. Okay? And the game went like this. And in this position, white played a move that we tell beginners not to play. So there's 2 moves in this position that good players play. Knight to G5 or pawn to D3. Those are the only 2 moves grandmasters play. But Wesley played another move. He played Knight C3, and this allows something you've never heard of called the fork trick.
I know it. The fork is when...
Wait, did you raise your hand and I called on you? Or did you raise your hand and start yelling and screaming? You, what's your question? Do you want to know about the horsey?
The fork is when knights go between 2 pieces and they attack it, and other pieces like pawns can do that too.
All right, the correct answer was, if you watch Star Wars, use the forks. Okay, now watch this fork trick that Mamedyarov played. Are you watching? It's very complicated. Pay attention. Black played knight takes E4, confusing the audience. I always tell my kids to play knight takes E4. They never remember. Mamedyarov remembered. And the idea is when white plays knight takes e4, right? Now black plays the fork trick. Raise your hand. You.
D5.
D5. So black is going to win a piece, but black already lost a piece. So that's fair. Okay, now, there's something you never heard of because you're young called Desperado. It's a song by the Eagles from the 70s. Okay, now, a desperado is when you're going to lose a piece for sure, so you might as well get something for it, right? Let me give you an example. Let's say you look and your house is burning down, and you're like, man, that's no good, right? That's worse than losing a chess game, or is it? Anyway, and you're like, wait, I could take my bike, and then I have my bike. And then the house burns down, but you have your bike. Got something, right? So you might as well get something, right? Got to get something. All right, you go to the restaurant, and the restaurant's burning down, so you can't eat. But you're like, wait, there's some food. So you take the food, and then you leave, and the restaurant burns down. At least you got some food. Okay, that's what happened in this position. White was like, wait a minute, I'm going to lose one of these pieces. So I better get something for it. Well, the most you can get is a pawn. I've had this position against a lot of kids. They don't get a pawn. Don't make noise in the class. You keep doing that. Don't do that anymore. Right, but don't do that. Don't make any noise. Okay. If you want to make noise, you can sit outside, and then we could have the class with just you. So in this position, I've had a lot of kids make a random move, and I just take the piece for free. Terrible. Watch what white did. White protected his knight, and then when you take the knight, he took a pawn. Yay! Now material's equal. You with a crazy comment.
No, it's a question. Couldn't he also take knight e5?
If he plays knight e5 here, all of his pieces are hanging. How many pieces do you want to lose? Yeah. Then I would take that, and you're still in a fork, right? Man, that's harsh. Yeah. Okay, so he did this, and then bishop d6, and they played very normal. Very normal. Okay, and now white did something I tell my kids never to do. I guess that's why white lost. He did all this stuff I said don't do, so he lost. Okay, he played g4. He didn't like this. You guys don't know what that's called. That's why you're always crying. You.
That's called a pin.
Right, and white didn't want to be pinned. So he's like, I'm not going to be pinned. So he went there. Now, I don't like that move because his king is open. He should have the pawns in front of his king. Boo. And then black played f5 and said, I'm going to checkmate your king. And white said, no talking. And black said, I'm going to checkmate your king. So, okay, and they traded pawns, and they traded bishops. That's fair. Bishop e3. Now, black played this crazy move, bishop c5, confusing the audience. He looks really confused. You should see it. It's too bad you can't see him. Now, remember the fork trick we did earlier? Now we're going to do fork trick number 2. So white took the bishop, obviously. Now, how did black fork these two pieces that I highlighted? How did he do that?
I think he moved queen d5.
He played queen to d5, that's right. That's fork trick number 2.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he saved his knight and lost his bishop. Now, black's threatening raw on f2. So white played knight e4, defending f2. Coincidentally attacking the queen. So the queen moved. Okay, then they played very boring, because that's how they play. Notice it's check, because I said so. Now, white's taking a pawn. Is that queen doing a good job defending the white king?
No.
No, so that's pretty dangerous. Knight d8 attacking the queen. Queen h4. Uh-oh. Are these pieces over here going to defend the white king? I don't think so. That's bad for... Now look at this king. That king is so safe, I can't even click on him. Look at my mouse. It won't go that far. That's how safe his king is. I mean, I could easily click on him, but I was kidding. Okay. So knight g3, that's a discovered double attack, confusing the audience. The audience sees knight takes rook, right, audience? But does the audience see queen takes queen? Ooh. Look at that discovered attack. Wasn't it exciting? Okay, so did black want to lose all of his pieces? Now, what move did black make so white can't take anything?
Rook to f4.
Rook to f4. Now, black's going to take the queen. So white's like, don't do that. Played here. Knight e6. He wants to get his knight in here and checkmate white. So he took with the pawn, attacking the knight. And white said, you're not attacking my knight, you're a liar. Because if you take the knight, then you lose your queen. So did he take the knight and lose his queen?
No.
No. He played a5. He said, excuse me, would you move your queen here so I can take the knight for free? See how it's not pinned anymore?
Oh.
That's a good trick, huh? There's a name for that, removing the defender. Or what's it called when you make the guy move away? Attraction? Yeah, something like that. Okay, so white didn't want to lose his queen because he's a good player. So he moved his queen, queen e4. And black attacked his queen. So he moved his queen again, pinning the knight and threatening checkmate. See how queen takes rook is checkmate? Okay. So he played king g8, defending his rook. Then he pinned the pawn again. Now black can take the knight. Then he played check. And then he went back here. And now white did something you've never heard of. You can't guess because you never heard of it. He resigned. Hopefully you've never resigned. No resigning in my class. You.
Resign means that you give up.
Right. Now let me explain why white gave up. Black is threatening to checkmate white. If you checkmate, you win. Let me give you an example. Let's say white plays this stupid move. How does black checkmate white? It takes two moves. Which one of you can figure it out? Black checkmates white. Checkmating is good because then you win. You.
First it's Q H3.
Queen H3 is right. White has one legal move, right?
Yes.
So here.
And then the next move is knight f3 checkmate.
Checkmate. Who wins?
Black.
Black wins. Now white didn't want to get checkmated, so he was like, how do I stop that checkmate? But he didn't see a way how. Also, his rook might get captured, his knight might get captured. He's like, man, all my pieces are getting captured and I'm getting mated. Now, what I like to do, when it's complicated and I'm analyzing a game, I turn on the engine and the engine says, roar. It says white's winning, black's winning, right? So if I turn on the engine, it's going to say black's winning, okay? So it says black is ahead like 3.5 pawns. Now it says 4 pawns. Now it's going to say 5 pawns, okay? And what the engine does, it doesn't want to get checkmated, so it plays queen here. That stops the checkmate, right?
Yeah, but then he also
Yeah, then you could take the rook. Or you could get checkmated another way. So he resigned instead. So that was Wesley So against Shakhiyar Mamedyarov. They're both in the top 5 in the world. Now, you guys not only play chess, you've probably seen chess before. You've seen other people play chess. When you see other people play chess, do you want to see them play 5 moves and agree to a draw? Or do you want to see them sacrifice all their pieces and checkmate each other?
second one.
Yeah. Okay, that's why people who watch chess, they like these games, because they're playing really fast. When they play fast, they make a lot of mistakes. When they play slow, they sit there for 10 minutes, then they make a move. Then their opponent sits there for 10 minutes, then they make a move. And then nobody ever moves, and all the games are draws, and the games take 5 hours. And then people are like, why am I watching chess? It's boring. Okay? Now, if you watch golf, the guy stands there forever, goes, Then he talks to his caddy goes, And then he hits the ball, and they go, yep, you hit the ball. Therefore, ratings on golf aren't very high, right? You can't name a lot of golfers. However, in basketball, they're running back and forth forever, and they're sweating a lot, and they're like, I'm tired, right? that has a lot of good ratings. Football, they hit each other and they get injured and go to the hospital. That has good ratings. Okay? In chess, if I sit there for 10 minutes and go, do people want to watch that? Yeah. So what they do is they make them play really fast. If you watched me play another Grandmaster and the game took 5 hours, you would fall asleep. But if we were playing 1 minute each and we were moving in less than a second, that'd be fun to watch. So these games are more fun to watch because they're playing faster, they're not playing as good, and there's almost no draws. So people like that. Unfortunately, the computer says, no, those moves aren't good. Computer doesn't like the way they play because they're not thinking, they're playing too fast, right? Okay, so if you can play fast and play good, that's not fair. Now what do kids do wrong? Your kids. Let's say you play in a tournament and you have 30 minutes for the whole game. And you use 20 seconds for the whole game. That means you played too fast. You should have used your time and think. Most kids just move in 1 second. And then they give all their pieces away. And then what do? Cry like a Grandmaster. I have a book out there, Cry Like a Grandmaster. Usually I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. When the class is over, I'll show you the book. And you'll be like, what? How could there be a book, Cry Like a Grandmaster? But there is. Yeah. Okay, next game. Okay, we have Anand Nakamura. Anand was 5-time world champion. Nakamura was the US champion. Exactly. Okay, my phone's like, why are you playing so bad? And my phone's not too bright. Okay, now this game's too complicated for you, so I'll show you the funny part of the game. Ready? Here's the funny part. Pay attention, the game's almost over. Okay, black played the move h5, which is really bad. You shouldn't move pawns in front of your king. Now white did something you're going to like. You guys are going to love it. He played bishop f4. That attacks the queen. Right, you agree. So black moved his queen. Now white did something I don't ever want you to do, except I want you to do it. He sacrificed the exchange. He gave away a rook for a bishop or a knight. How did he do that?
Well, it's just a question. I saw a video that that I think it was black or white sacrificed his queen to win.
Right. And if you sacrifice your queen, but it doesn't work, then you're like, where's my queen? Here, he sacrificed a rook for a knight. That's pretty close. Because he wanted to checkmate his opponent. So watch what he does. Watch this. He plays rook takes the knight. Obviously, black takes the rook. And now he goes queen takes h5. Bam! Now, you see how this bishop is doing this? And this queen is near the king? If it was white's move, white has a great move here. In fact, he got to play it. So you guys are going to see it. After e3, what's the amazing move white made that will confuse both of you? Look at this amazing move white plays.
I think it's going to be bf7.
That would be an amazing move, but you lose your bishop. But you're very close. Now watch this. This is something you never heard of, even though you just said it. It's called a pin. You see this bishop and this king? That's on the same diagonal, isn't it? When you're playing chess, you have to look for things like that. Wow, my bishop and his king are lined up. Is that good for the bishop or the king? What do you think? When a bishop's lined up with a king, is that good for the bishop or the king? Bishop. Now, if you wanted to move this pawn, you can't move that pawn because the pawn is pinned. Watch this move white made, confusing the audience. Ready? Queen g6. I told you that pawn can't move. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And then black cried like a grandmaster. Black played the only possible move. What did black do?
I think he did king h8.
King h8, right? And then check. And then check again. And then check. And now white played bishop c2 because he's mean. Now let's see how smart the audience is. First, let me call Vegas and bet against you. I bet against them. Roar! Okay. White played bishop c2. I can prove it. See?
Yeah.
If white could move again, what would white do? Why did he play bishop c2? What was the point?
So he can line up and do a battery move against the king and make checkmate.
Yeah, what move would that be?
Q7.
That guy's right. I want to play queen h7 checkmate. That's a checkmate you're going to see a lot. That queen and bishop lining up like that. Then your opponent is going to try to take the queen, and you're like, no, my bishop's there. And they're like, oh, and then they cry. With some crazy comment.
That thing he's doing to protect the queen is called queen helper mate.
Is it? Cool. I thought it was called hamburger helper. I never had that because I'm a vegan. Okay. So did black want to get checkmated?
No.
No, so he stopped it. He played f5, blocking the bishop, because I said so. Now, this diagonal is open to the king. Remember, it was blocked, and now it's not blocked. So white played bishop b3 check. And black is like, that's not fair. You see how unfair that is? That's pretty unfair. Okay, now there's a terrible, 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 terrible rap group you've never heard of from the 1990s called Crisscross. Okay, make sure you never heard of them. Okay, and then this is a crisscross. I got this action, I got this. It's a crisscross. It's better than the rap group Crisscross. Yeah, that's going to make you jump. That was their famous song. They said jump like 90 times. Then they said, where's my money? And they were children. They were like your age. Yep. And they said jump. And then they're like, where's our millions of dollars? Huh. That was the 90s. Okay. Anyway, black played the obvious move. Rook f7. Rook e1. And that rook is pinned. Okay, now I take you. You take me. Now black is gonna lose his pawn on e3, and white play king g2. Now, let me tell you white's plan. White's plan is king f3, rook takes e3. You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
That plan is unstoppable. Now let's pretend white does that. Let's say black goes here, and let's say black goes here, and we take the pawn. How many pawns is white ahead? Who can count that high? You. No, he's like, no, I can't. Yeah.
He's about 3 pawns ahead.
How many?
3 pawns ahead.
3 pawns ahead. If a grandmaster like Anand is 3 pawns ahead, what do you think's going to happen?
He's going to win.
He's going to win. Okay, so in this position, black is like, wait, I'm going to be down 3 pawns. So he gave up. And also, there's 2 kinds of chess positions. Boring or really exciting. What do you think about this one? Boring. When you're down 3 pawns and it's boring, that's not good. You got to be exciting so the guy can blunder. There's no blundering here. So Anand won. Hooray from Anand. Now I'll tell you a secret you don't know. You guys know how old I am because we talked about it before class. That's how old Anand is. He was born 3 months after me. So I'm 3 months older. I showed him. Okay, so what school did he go to? Old school. All right. Now, what's not too complicated for you guys? The answer is everything. Okay, I like the end of this game, so we're going to look at the end of it. Only the end. This is Karjakin, Dominguez. I'm going to tell you several things you don't know, and you're going to be shocked. The first one you're going to guess. The guy who's white, he's the youngest grandmaster ever. Ever. How old was he when he became a grandmaster? Let's guess.
My age.
You're 7. Okay, that's not a good guess.
I think he became at 18.
18? Okay, it's right in the middle of your guesses. Good job. Did you guys plan that?
No.
Okay. He was a grandmaster 12 years and 7 months. He became a grandmaster. As you both know, that means they don't know. About 1.5 years ago, he played a world championship match with Magnus Carlsen, Karjakin. Okay. And they tied 6-6. Then they had a playoff, and Carlsen won the playoff. Okay? And it was played in New York. You've heard of New York. Mm-hmm. Now I have a funny story to tell you, then we'll go on with the chess. I was teaching a class in Ann Arbor.
What?
It's a city in Michigan you never heard of. And I said, it was a kids class, it was a school, it was like 20 kids. And I said, what city in the United States has the most people? So the kids were raised in Canada, China, okay, right? And the right answer is?
New York City.
New York City. And that was like the 15th guess. Okay, and I said, correct. And this other kid said, whoa, wait a minute. New York is in the United States? And I was like, yeah, he didn't believe it. He's like, that's crazy. How could that be?
I guess he didn't know about the states.
He didn't know about it, yeah, it was public school. Okay, so this was played in New York, Karjakin, Carlson. Dominguez is from a country you've never heard of.
Oh, I know what it is.
You.
I think it's in the Central America.
Yeah, close enough. Cuba. And Dominguez wants to play for America. So he's actually transitioning right now. Next year, he's going to play for the U.S. Go Dominguez. He lives in Miami, obviously. Okay, now watch the end of this game because it ends really fast. Don't blink. White played bishop takes e5 because I said so. And black played a move that's so tricky I'm afraid to show you because you'll start crying. It's really tricky. Black played bishop e3. See what black just did?
Yeah.
See this move? Now some of you want to take that bishop, but you can't.
It's pinned.
It's pinned. See this? Watch this. Some of you are like, black's threatening, queen takes pawn, checkmate. That's that thing you made up. What did he say? He didn't say battery. He said some crazy stuff.
Helper mate.
Yeah, helper mate. You've heard of that before?
No.
No. Okay. So black wants to do a helper mate, and black wants to take this rook for free. Yeah. So this looks pretty good for black. Black's threatening checkmate, and black's threatening a rook.
Yeah.
And now the game ended in one move because black gave up. White played the trickiest move you ever saw. Now pay attention. You're going to learn a lot this move. In this position, I want to take your bishop, but it's illegal because of the queen. I wish the queen wasn't there, then I could take the bishop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And white said, I'm going to make sure the queen isn't there. So what did white do to make sure the queen is in here? You have to look up here to figure it out. You.
Bishop takes g7.
Bam. Okay, that's a fork because I said so. And then black played checkmate, confusing everybody.
That's not possible.
That's why everybody's confused. Yeah, I'm kidding. Now black gave up, but let's pretend he didn't give up. He would take the bishop, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I would take your queen. You would take my queen, and I would take your bishop. Time to count again. How many pawns is white ahead?
2 pawns.
2 pawns, and is that good? Is that where the pieces are supposed to be?
No.
No. So white's up 2 pawns. White has 2 passed pawns. These pieces haven't moved yet. You can't move the bishop because you'll lose this pawn. And white's threatening rook g6 check. So black resigned. The computer's going to say, I don't know, +6? I'm just guessing. That's a pretty good guess, right?
Oh yeah, it's +6.
Yeah, that's a pretty good guess. Yeah. So black gave up. He said, I give up. And white said, okay, great. Yeah. Now what's funny is, here's why chess is a hard game. Let's say white doesn't play bishop takes pawn check. Maybe he doesn't see it. Now I think white's in trouble. Because black's threatening checkmate and bishop takes rook. So chess is a hard game. One move wins, every other move might lose. So you gotta, that's why it's good to think in chess, right? If you move in 1 second, that might, for example, here's what a lot of kids would do. They would say, oh, my rook's attacked. They would move their rook, and then, oh, checkmate, I didn't see that. And a lot of kids would say, oh, he's threatening checkmate. I'll stop checkmate. Oh, I didn't see my rook was hanging. Okay, that happens in a lot of chess games. That's why these guys are grandmasters, and you're not quite grandmasters. Not quite.
I'm almost.
Almost.
Okay.
Almost. And wake in your dreams. Okay. And then these are 2 of the best American players, Nakamura and So. And I want to show you something that So did that made me mad. Because I'm a chess teacher. So this, like, if any of my students did this, I would be furious. So's not my student, so it's okay. Okay, they got this position. The computer says it's a draw. because they have the same everything. They both have a king, they both have a rook, they both have a minor piece, and they both have 4 pawns. Now let's see if you guys are the smartest. In the end game, do you want to move your king up or back?
Up.
Up. So if you want to move your king up, does your opponent want to move their king up? Yeah.
Yeah.
So should you make them move their king up? No, you should stop them, right?
Yes.
So Wesley made a really terrible move here. Why? No time on his clock. What should he do? Probably attack the bishop. Probably. But he checked the king up. Now the rest of the game, white moves his king up and black moves his king back. I wonder who won. I don't wonder who won, I know who won. So this is a really bad move. This is something kids do a lot. Your kids. They like check. Then they go, yay, I checked him. Can you show me a chess book that tells me you win by checking somebody? No, if you did, that wouldn't be a good chess book. Checking somebody isn't what you want to do. You want to checkmate them. If they want to move their king up the board, you don't make them. So watch what happens. Watch how the game ends. He checks his king up. Boo! And then white keeps moving his king up. What's going on around here?
I don't know.
Okay, and black never, and he checks him again. And he moves his king up. And then he moves his king back. And then white moves his king up again. So even when you were looking away, look what happened. White moved his king up to here, and black moved his king down to here. What? So the computer said it was equal. Now the computer says black resigns. Because white's threatening checkmate, because I said so.
What?
Can you believe that's checkmate? Also, white wants to promote his pawn to a queen. That would be nice. With checkmate. Okay, so he said, you're not going to mate me or promote your queen. And white said, I beg to differ. Now here's a move neither of you would ever play or consider. But I'm going to explain the move to you. Pay attention. Watch. If you play check, I said if, what would black do?
King to b7 to attack the pawn.
Right,
And,
right, but let's say black couldn't play king to b7. That would be checkmate. So white made a move where you can't play king to b7. Ever. See how the bishop's on a white square? And that's a white square? So where did the bishop go? So it controls b7. Don't make noises.
b e4.
Correct. Pay attention. He played bishop to e4. Notice he's threatening checkmate because I said so. You see how that's checkmate? Now let's see how good you guys are. How do you stop white from checkmating black? Black found the only way to do it. He gave up. So white didn't checkmate him because he gave up, so the game ended.
Oh, yeah.
But let's say you didn't give up, but you didn't want to get checkmated. What would you do about that?
Rook to, king to b8.
Checkmate.
No, king.
Checkmate, checkmate. Your turn. Here, I'll show you. King to b8, checkmate.
Oh, okay.
The truth hurts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, so that was a good move, bishop e4. That's a move kids don't consider. It stops the opponent from doing something. Let me give you an example. You're a police officer, and a guy's going to rob a store with a gun. And you're like, what should I do? Should I let him rob the store and then arrest him? Or should I stop him from robbing the store before he does it? What would you like the police officer to do?
Oh, stop the robbery.
Yeah, you stop him before he does it. So you don't check, and then when he plays king b7, go, now what do I do? You go, I know, I'll stop king b7, and then I'll mate him. So the guy played bishop e4, and now you're going to play rook a8 checkmate. That's why he's rated 2777, and you're not. Right? That's the difference. He sees what his opponent's going to do, he doesn't let him do it. And now, if we go back to the original position that I started at, which was here. You see where the kings are? Pay attention.
Yeah.
Whose king is further up, white or black? Here.
Black.
Black. Black's king's on the third row, white's king's on the second row. And when the game ends, white's king is on the sixth row, and black's on the first row. Terrible endgame play. I tell all of my students, you're my students, move your king up in the endgame, you need your king. Let me give you an example. Let's say you like basketball. And let's say your favorite player is LeBron James. And let's say you have a basketball team and LeBron James says, I want to play on your team. And you're like, all right, great. Now you have a team and LeBron James is on your team. And then the game starts. You go, you know, LeBron, I don't want you to get hurt, so you stay on the bench the whole game. Is that what they do?
Like me.
No, but do they do that? Do they take the best player and say, don't play because you'll get hurt? No. They say, go play and win the game for us. So if your king is good in the end game, should your king play and do good or move back and do nothing? It should play and do a good job. You can see which king did that in this position, right? And the answer is fries. You know why?
Why?
The answer is always fries. There's a television show I watch, and it's a comic book store. And then there's a comic from like McDonald's. And there's like a jumble, like you figure out the answers. And the comic book says the answer is fries. Yeah. Because, you know, it's a McDonald's, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so the answer is always fries. All right, now the last game before class ends will be Caruana Mamedyarov. They played yesterday, and Caruana won the craziest game ever. We're going to start when it's the craziest. Now, some of you thought this was a chess lecture. This is a Connect 4 lecture. Pay attention. See the Connect 4?
No.
Okay, now let me explain to you why chess is difficult. There's a reason. If I said taking queens is good, you would agree. If I said checkmating your opponent's good, you would agree. But what if I said this is good and this is bad, and you did them both? And I said, why did you do that? You said, well, the good is more good than the bad is bad. And your friend is like, no, the bad is more bad than the good is good. You argue. That's why this position happened, right? So I have a question. Pay attention. Is this good for black or good for white?
Black.
That's good for black. So you're like, wow, that's great for black. Look at this terrible bishop that can never move. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. White has an extra piece. White has 3 minor pieces, and black only has 2. That's good for white. And when they talked to the players after the game, they were like, I didn't know who was winning. It's too hard. So this game was really complicated. The computer said black was better, then white was better, then black was better. And they both played sort of bad because they had no time on their clock. Okay, so we'll get to the key position. In this position, so here black played d2, and this lets the white bishop get out later. Okay, and they got this position. Now, white has 2 bishops for a rook. Let's vote. You ready to vote? What's better, 2 bishops or a rook?
Which position are you talking about? Endgame?
No position. You could just take 2 bishops or a rook. Which one do you want?
2 bishops.
What do you say? You want 2 bishops or a rook? Which is better?
Rook.
See, they don't agree. You says 2 bishops, you say a rook. In this position, white has 2 bishops for a rook. 2 bishops are better than a rook because 2 pieces are better than 1. But who has more pawns here?
The opponent.
Yeah, black has more pawns. So it's still really complicated. Okay, and then later in the game, white played bishop here attacking the rook, and he has the helper mate. See this queen and bishop here? Man, that helper mate's always happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let me give you an example. This is your favorite checkmate. Let's say black doesn't want to lose his rook. Do you want to lose your rook? So he moves his rook away. Now here comes the double helper mate. Double helper mate. Because the bishop protects the queen, and then the other bishop protects the queen. Wow. It's good to have 2 bishops. So did black move his rook away and get checkmated? No, he just gave away his rook. So now white's up a bishop, and black has a lot of pawns, and white took those pawns. Man, that wasn't nice. And then white wins because white has an extra bishop. And then they both made a queen. Now, who saw the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer? All right, you saw, remember the end of the movie when they both queen? And then he takes his queen? That's what happens here. This is real life though, not a movie. This actually happened yesterday. Now in the movie, the kid loses his queen and starts crying. In real life, the guy's like, uh-oh, I'm gonna lose my queen, I give up. That's what happened in this game. Watch. You watching? It's almost over. Okay, they both queen. Everybody gets a queen. That's fair. Okay, and after pawn takes, black resigned. Let's pretend black didn't resign. You watching? You saw the movie, so you know the answer. Black plays pawn here. White makes a queen. Then black makes a queen.
But there was but he had a king and he had a king and there was a queen. There was a queen and all of the pieces were gone, but except the queen and the...
Right, everything else was gone, right. But he did the same move here. He skewered the king and queen. How did white do that? Here. How does white win the queen? You!
Queen to F5.
Queen F5. You see what the queen's doing over here? You see all that action? Is that good for white or black?
It's good for white.
Yeah, did black like that?
No.
No. So instead of doing that and losing, he just said, I give up, because he knew that was going to happen. In the Searching for Fischer movie, instead of these two queens, black queened here and white queened here, and it was one of those deals where the forking the king and queen, you know, like that. This was slightly different, but the same idea. Right, and that game was played yesterday, and this was shocking because both players are 2,800. That's pretty good, isn't it? And both of them were winning that game. That game was too complicated, right? Sometimes when you're up 5 pieces, it's not complicated. But if your opponent has 4 passed pawns, and you're up a piece, and you're both getting checkmated, then you're like, chess is too hard, I need an adult, right? I need a 2,800 player. Yeah. And that's why these are the number 2 and number 3 rated players in the world. Who's number 1?
Magnus.
Magnus Carlsen. He's not playing in this tournament, he's playing in the next one, and he's going to play them. So those were the games where somebody won. There were some games that were draws because they didn't make a lot of mistakes. These games, people made a lot of mistakes. Now, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question. We'll see who answers it right. You go to the tennis club, and you see 2 kids playing tennis. And you go to one kid and say, hey, what do you think of Roger Federer? And he says, huh? Then you say, what do you think of Rafael Nadal? And he goes, what? Then you go to the other guy and you ask him the same questions. He says, oh yeah, Federer, he's my favorite player. Oh, Nadal, he's my favorite left-hand player, especially on clay. Which one of those kids is better at chess, is better at tennis? The kid who knew nothing or the kid who knew a lot about tennis?
The kid who knew a lot about tennis.
Right. He says, oh yeah, I like those tennis players. The other guy's like, what's tennis? If I go to a chess class and I go, Magnus Carlsen, and the kid goes, who? And then you go, Magnus, he's the world champion. Which one of those kids is better at chess? You see my point?
Yeah.
When I talk about chess players, if you're like, I've never heard of any chess players, and you start crying, you're probably not good at chess.
I watched all these players play on the chess.com website.
Yeah, because when you play chess and you have your favorite players, you can try to play like them. Or you could know who they are. Or you could see good games that they played. If you're like, huh, what's chess? Then probably you're not a grandmaster. Right? You're like, I don't know anything about chess. So you want to get cultured in chess, where when I talk about Kasparov, Karpov, Fischer, you're like, yeah, I know those guys. Not like, Bobby Fischer, who's that? I got interviewed by the newspaper in Michigan when I was your age. And I said, my dad played Bobby Fischer. And the reporter said, who's that? So they were reporting on a chess column, they never heard of Bobby Fischer.
Wait, your dad played Bobby Fischer, is that true?
Yeah, but the point is, the reporter never heard of Bobby Fischer. So they weren't very impressed. They're like, who? Okay, the truth hurts. Was that reporter a good chess player? Exactly. Was it a chess reporter for a chess magazine? No, it's like the local newspaper. Like Bobby Fischer, who's that? So you want to get cultured, you want to learn who the good players are in your city, in your state, in your country, in the world, and your kids, you want to know who the good kids are. let's say you're 10 years old and you're in a tournament and everybody's 10, it's a grade tournament. Well, you want to know which kids are, high rated and which ones you're going to give them to smackdown, right? And then when they're like, oh, so-and-so won the state championship, you're like, yeah, I know him. Not like, who? What? What world am I on? Don't want to be like that, do you? No. Okay, so over the next few days, you can watch all these super grandmasters play in St. Louis. You could even drive up there. What's your excuse? Are you in school or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to work at that tournament, so I know all those guys. I've played chess with all of them. I think I won, but maybe I'm wrong. Also, Wesley So was my teammate.
I know.
In the Pro Chess League. And now he's getting crushed. Boo! Okay, so remember, if you want to be good at chess, unlike these guys, you have to take your time. When they take their time, they play too good. And people are like, I don't want to see draws. I want to see people give their queen away. So they make them play fast. Then I can show you all kinds of blunders and checkmates and promoting to queens. And when it's a slow tournament and the game takes 5 hours, I can't show you a lot of that.
30 minutes and like 25 minutes are pretty good chess times.
Yeah.
It's like they're not too fast. They're not too fast where people just blunder all of their pieces.
Right.
But they're not too slow because you can also see some tactics.
Yeah, but what happens is when we have a kids tournament here and the kids have 30 minutes each, the kids use like 20 seconds. So guess how, do they play well?
No.
Some of them are like, well, I play bad because I'm bad. That's not why they play badly, it's because they don't think. They're like, oh, I've been thinking for 1 second, it's time to move now. And I'm like, you have 30 minutes on your clock, why are you moving in 1 second? If you thought about your moves, you would do well. Now, let's say you're playing somebody and they're better than you, but they use 1 minute for the whole game and you use 20 minutes. You'll probably beat them. You're thinking and they're not. So you can beat somebody better than you by taking your time. And that's why they have these tournaments. You can see the top players are blundering when they have very little time on their clock. So that means you shouldn't do that, right? Yeah. No blundering. Rawr. All right, good job. And now go play chess and have a donut.